Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash, Season 5. So ever since last season when she showed up for those 4 random meetings with various members of Team Flash, apart from Iris of course, I think we all had a little bit of suspicion around this mystery girl character that would end up being revealed as Nora Allen, the daughter of Barry and Iris from 30 years in the future, right at the end of Season 4 after she had assisted Barry in taking down that falling satellite. And as Season 5 has started and moved through the opening few episodes, there have been a few things that have happened with Nora that have definitely raised a few eyebrows and made many people think, is there something else going on here with her? With the most recent of these being right at the end of episode 3 when we had the new Harrison Wells for this season, that being Harrison Sherlock Wells, question Nora over her decision to act during the satellite incident rather than any of the other points that she had been to previously, including stuff going on with DeVoe in Season 4. As well as those other 4 moments we mentioned earlier on from Season 4, with the satellite incident being one that would heavily impact the course of history moving forward. Sherlock does go on to question whether Nora really came up with the decision of impacting that moment by herself. And just going off like Nora's facial expressions, she does look like a kid who has just been exposed for using TikTok when her parents clearly told her not to. And even as she walks away, she's still giving that same worried look, clearly to tell the audience like, yo, something suspect is going on here. And that is the point of this video. We are going to be going over who Nora could be working with and the reasons as to why that certain person would be wanting Nora to impact this moment, as well as how they are helping Nora in doing so. Now, it is important to say, these are not my theories. These are theories off the internet. I take them and I break them all down and go over which one is the most plausible one to happen. So don't go, wow, Paige, these theories are really stupid. Why'd you think these up? They're not mine, okay? Like my previous theory breakdown, people just don't listen. It's like their ears are clogged or something. Please listen. These aren't my theories. I'm just breaking them down. But of course, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts and stuff on these various theories. Which one do you like the most? Which one do you like the least and think's the most stupid? And if you have any improvements to them and maybe things you would change here and there, let me know all of that in the comment section down below as well. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, it would be awesome if you could drop a like on the video to show support and subscribe to the channel if you're new. So let's start off with the one that will most likely be included in the title of the video and the one that has been the majority vote for many people in regards to who Nora could be influenced by in the future, and that is of course Reverse Flash. Now, the theory around Reverse Flash, or, Eobard Thawne being associated with Nora in the future, isn't that he is just, there and approaches Nora and asks her to travel back and intervene at that certain point in time. The one that I've seen the most, and the one when you think about it makes a ton of sense, is that Eobard Thawne is posing as the curator for the Flash Museum, otherwise known as Mr. Miles. Now, we have had a Mr. Miles already on the show back in Season 1, who was Dexter Miles and was the owner of Central City Museum, and in the comics, Dexter Miles is the curator of the Flash Museum, and he was friends with the Flash and Barry Allen and stuff in the comics previously. However, 30 years in the future, the Dexter Miles, or the Mr. Miles we saw back in Season 1, I think it was, would be so much, much older, and I highly doubt he would be involved with the Flash Museum. So if anything, that Mr. Miles in the future would be the son of the Mr. Miles associated with the Central City Museum. But regardless, we know the backstory of Reverse Flash. He was like a Flash fanboy who took that fanboyism to the next level and ended up learning his true fate, which was actually to be, the Flash's greatest nemesis. But with all that knowledge he has on the Flash and his history, he would be the perfect person to be running the Flash Museum, even if it was under another alias and posing as someone else. But in regards to how Nora would get involved with Reverse Flash in the form of Mr. Miles, it wouldn't be too hard. I mean, she was obsessed with the Flash Museum. She would always go there. So Nora would of course been all ears for whatever the curator of the thing she is obsessed with had to say. And of course, with us knowing about Nora from stuff we have seen this season, she may have told, Mr. Miles who she was, whether that be that she was a speedster, or that she was the daughter of the Flash, or it could even come down to something as simple as Mr. Miles, aka Reverse Flash, learning of her name and realizing oh damn, literal Kid Flash standing in front of me. We saw a roughly 10-year-old Nora in the Flash Museum at the beginning of episode 3, and Nora at the moment is around in her mid-20s, so she would have left the future 16 years after that Flash Museum scene. So there is a lot of time there for her and Mr. Miles to form a pretty, strong bond and trust. and possibly a plan as to what Nora would do back in this time. And also, Nora is not that well in tune with her powers. We've seen that in the opening episodes, so I personally find it hard to believe that she would be, by herself at least, be able to like travel back in time properly to an exact point in time, or even just a rough year. It's not an easy skill, as we already know on the show. Another point to quickly mention with this is that book that Nora was writing the symbols in last season. She may have been tricked or something along those lines to travel back and affect the timeline, but was told to like go back and record certain points in history or something like that, hence why she was writing the notebook. She is holding that book when she walks in at the end of season 4 into Joe West's house, so it does seem that book will be relevant at some point this season. When that is, it's, for us to wait and find out, I guess. Now, the second theory is that Nora is influenced by a twin brother of hers in the future. So in the comics, the two kids of Barry and Iris are known as the Tornado Twins, known as Dawn and Don Allen. But currently on the show, we only know of Nora, who seems to just be Dawn from the comics, with like a logical reasoning behind her name change due to Barry's mother. But Nora hasn't straight up mentioned if she is an only child or not. Like, she hasn't said, oh, I'm an only child. Like, that would be weird if she said that. So she hasn't mentioned that yet. So there, theoretically could be a twin brother out there in the future for Nora. But the common theory around this is that Nora's brother is a bit of a bad boy and could possibly play off like a sort of like Daniel West reverse Flash type character or type story for this season. Or they could even make it that he is not Nora's twin and is just like a younger brother. But I think a twin is the most likely option. So what Nora could be doing back in our time now in 2018 is purposely stuffing up the timeline, which we have seen a few times. And this is in order to change the future in a way in which either her brother is not born or possibly rid the world of both of them if that is what has to be done, or it could even be to change a certain event that maybe triggers her brother going evil. Now, I know the one in regards to her like ridding both of them is a bit over the top, but if he is that much of a threat in the future, then maybe that is what has to be done. I mean, if they really wanted to show that this twin brother is such a menace, they could even make it that he was the one that formed things to happen in the present day by traveling, back in time himself, such as either like forming Cicada and various other things like that. But personally, I would prefer if Cicada was a result of Nora, but was just like a byproduct of her coming back in order to prevent a more dangerous threat. So, this threat in the future that she knows of and that she can stop is a bigger threat in her eyes than, maybe creating something else. Like, maybe she didn't want to create Cicada, but when Cicada's there, maybe she thinks they can deal with it, and the threat that she's trying to stop is a bigger one. Something along those lines. The major thing that does go against this theory is simply that it is missing a lot of the evidence. Now, I know we're only in episode 3, but we have had a lot of other hints to some other theories already. And it does seem like a pretty basic storyline for a character that we aren't even sure exists at all in the future. Like, if Nora had said she had a twin brother or a sibling, then we could base our theory off that, but there has been like no mention of it at all. However, the fact that Nora is here and she has powers like the Tornado Twins in the comics, it does highly suggest that she would have a brother in the future, but we are just like assuming at this point rather than going off facts. But Nora is here for the whole season. They are going to have to try and keep her relevant for the whole season. Like, at the beginning, she's going to be extremely relevant because we know she's caused Cicada. Obviously, there's stuff going on with her and Iris, and then there's stuff going on with her and Barry. But at the midpoint of the season, a lot of that would most likely be like old news. So they've got to try and keep her relevant from episodes 10 to 22. And making the season really be about her versus someone that she knows and still keep it like family tied, rather than just like other members of Team Flash, make specifically about her. That would obviously keep her relevant and make her being around, for the whole season, make a lot of sense and just make sense in general. And the third and final theory in this video revolves around Nora's aunt, that being Jenna Marie West, the daughter of Joe and Cecile, and that she is like some form of threat in the future, whether that be a speedster or just a metahuman. So starting last season, we saw Cecile's pregnancy-related abilities, if you want to call them, develop, and they were quite odd and really just, when it came down to it, not very well explained. Like, really, the way in which they explained it made it seem like that every woman that gets pregnant in Central City would get powers. So due to that sounding incredibly stupid, it's possible to believe that Jenna may actually be a meta. And yes, they did testing and all of that, but we have had things happen in the past on the show with certain people that have sort of cancelled that out for being an excuse. So what I mean by that is like people being tested, they're not a meta, then all of a sudden they're a meta. So when you look at the timing in which Nora shows up and when she makes herself known to Team Flash, she has been around since at least the wedding, but didn't choose to reveal herself to Team Flash until the final episode of Season 4, right after Jenna had been born. Now, the lining up of these events could of course just been a way of wrapping up plot lines for last season and setting them up to, move forward. But in support of this theory, you would have to think that this was intentional. Why did she choose this moment to reveal herself? Especially when you consider how excited she was to meet everyone, including her father, why would she wait this long? She had been around for quite a while. She seemed to be waiting for the perfect point to go, hello, what's going on? So due to this, you would see Nora being back here as almost like her being on a mission of sorts to prevent the future in which Jenna could be a dangerous matter to not only Central City or planet Earth, but potentially the multiverse as well. So the people in the future might be like, yo, you're the perfect person to go back and try and fix this up. And they help Nora get back to 2018 to sort of deal with all of this. They could even make it that maybe some Legion of Superhero stuff is going on because, as we know, XS is a part of the Legion of the future. I think Nora mentions the Legion in last episode as well as the League. So there's multiple people there that could influence Nora to go back and assist her and maybe give her some tips and tricks, if you want to call it, in regards to dealing with stuff in the past. The one thing that many think to seem triggers, Jenna going into this, this dark path, if you want to call it, is possibly a tragic event. Now, we know that Joe is alive in the future as he does go on to become police chief, and there doesn't really seem to be too much worry from Nora in regards to him. But what if something happens to Cecile? Now, I have pointed out in a few videos that Cecile was up to a series regular for this season, and that felt sort of unnecessary as she wasn't a series regular last season, but was in too much of it and was given that weird storyline with the powers and stuff to serve that time on screen. So when she was upgraded for this season, I, as well as many others, I'm sure, must have been thinking that her being upgraded wasn't really for her story, but for the story of someone else, that someone else possibly being Jenna. And of course, as we have seen, they have continued that story with Cecile having powers for this season, and you would have to think that it is leading somewhere for another character story, as I don't think any of us would come up with could come up with a realistic or just interesting storyline for Cecile in regards to those powers for the rest of the season. But in conclusion, I think all of these theories have a leg to stand on. I think the one that makes the most sense, just in regards to, I think, what people want to see, as well as it making sense as to what's been said on the show so far, is that the first one, the Reverse Flash one. I think that makes the most sense in regards to what we've heard so far. But I do think the Jenna Marie West one does come in, maybe not a close second, but a respectable second. I think that's probably the second most likely one out of these three to happen. The brother one, the second one we went over, does come in last place. And the reason that it comes in last place in my eyes is just due to the fact that we don't know if that brother exists in the future. If next episode Nora goes, oh, by the way, I have a brother in the future. Okay, then ring your alarm bells. This theory comes back into play. But at the moment, I don't think you can really talk too much about it because you're really just, assuming things are going to be happening in the future and stuff like that. But with those, that Reverse Flash theory and the Jenna theory, there's a leg to stand on because there's evidence. But that second one with the brother, there's just really, really limited evidence to really even go too deep into it. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on the video to show support. Let me know in the comments section down below your various opinions on this video. Which theory do you like the sound of the most? And all of that, let me know your general opinions in the comments section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.